Why, hello there. It's me, Jeremy, your favorite bald dude telling you about Standard and Strange, a store and a brand with simple rules. Sell clothes they themselves would wear, manufacture it ethically, and build it to last. From boots made in Oregon to loop wheel garments made in Japan, find all the best clothes for your wardrobe at Standard and Strange. StandardandStrange.com. Hello. Okay, we're here. I'm here. Hey, folks, it's Blammo. I'm Jeremy Kirkland. Good Lord, I've had tech issues like nobody's business lately. I mean, it's crazy, and I've been like clumsy. I've been dropping stuff. I don't know what the heck's going on with me. My daughter told me I have bad luck. I'm like, you're 4 years old. You don't know anything about luck. Like, she watched that stupid Apple TV movie or whatever. The Luck. It's not stupid. It's actually pretty good. But like, you know, and so now everything is luck. We have good luck. We have bad luck. That's all bull roar. But we got a winner here. Your favorite bald boy just kicked off the fall season here. I had my pumpkin spice this week. Look, I'm sorry. I really am. I'm not going to be some clown who goes like full pumpkin everything, but man, it's it's a tasty treat. Let's just be honest. But also, it's going to be 95 degrees this week, and I can only wear my cardigans if I blast my AC. Not a good look. Sorry, planet Earth. Dan Levy is here this week. Yes, Levy, the comedian, the writer, the Banty fit god. I just got to say, like, first off, I love comedians. When they come on the pod, I mean, they are ready. I mean, the energy on this pod, it's high intensity. He was locked and loaded and just a ton of fun. And can I also say, like, it's great to have people on who like stuff and like clothes, but recognize that they don't have to be masters to like something. Do you know what I mean? Like, he could have easily just come on and given a masterclass in comedy writing on the pod or something like that. But no, we talk clothes, we talk vintage. He was a blast talking to, and we got into it. It was great. We discussed his stand-up career, writing sitcoms with the homies, touring with John Mulaney, getting fits off on stage, his favorite vintage dealers, wearing his shoes, his Green Day merch collection, and watching the Marvel movies in order, and working out 6 days a week. It's a big old pod. Here we go. I forget, because you're like, your career, you've done like every aspect of the industry.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I always say, like, I'm in comedy related activities. You know, it's like I started out doing stand up, which I love and I still do. But I started doing that when I was so young that by the time I even graduated from Emerson, I was just on a comedy tour. So like I've only, been making money from comedy my entire life, which has been awesome. And I basically, that led to like, hosting game shows and MTV shows and, shows like The Reality Show on MTV, which is an American Idol for people who want reality shows, and also Rock Band Battle, like, which was another terrible thing that was like a battle of bands for people who only play rock band. And of course, Your Face or Mine, which was a very famous show in the UK hosted by the hilarious Jimmy Carr. And then we redid it for MTV in America. And it just like, we did like, 100 episodes in 2 days. And I was on after TRL. So I was like very famous at the Grove for about like 3 weeks. And then
is this like you and Jesse?
Yeah, exactly. No. It was, who was a VJ then? Caduce, Damien Fahey, but I was in LA and those guys were in New York, and it was definitely a separate situation. And then, and I did like ridiculous things. I hosted MTV Spring Break in Miami. I've like sort of like done all that MTV stuff back in like the early aughts. And then, I started sort of writing my own stuff, during like the big webisode boom, also like in the mid aughts, like around 2008. And that's kind of how I got into the television writing, because I wrote this thing that became like a TV pilot, which is like a first episode of a TV show. And then I just started writing other shows, and I sold the show. And then I just kind of got into sitcoms, and it's basically been like 10 years of working on sitcoms, having my own sitcom. And now really the past like 3 months, I've been doing a ton more stand up, and I've been on the road with, Mulaney while I sort of still work on, new shows here in LA. So it's been fun. It's been a real sort of whirlwind.
Yeah, because I was doing my research on you, and like different people that I talked to, they're like, "Oh, he did this," and it's like, he's a stand-up guy. Da, da, da. Another person's like, "Oh man, he's just like this showrunner, and he makes all these different shows, and he's working on this show, and we did this show together, but it didn't happen. But we're doing like." And that's the thing is like, I think of a lot of the people that I've talked to, there are people that are like kind of very like honed in on focused on one thing, but you are like this jack of all trades across the entire like comedy and entertainment industry. I mean, even Pally was saying the same thing.
Yeah, no, that's sort of that's right. And like I love it. Like it's been really fun. It's like, I started out, and that's what's been so fun about doing stand-up is like, it's sort of this thing that you do, and it's like a skill. You have to work really hard on it, and you work so hard to get to a certain point. And then, like a lot of different comics, it kind of takes you different ways, So I ended up sort of in these writers' rooms and writing on sitcoms, and like Pally said, like running a show and creating shows, and it's so fun. But the shows that I had the most fun doing were definitely like the big, like live audience multicam, so to be out again doing stand up in front of a live audience is so fun. Cause that's really, inherently like where it all began for me, so it's been fun to go back. But yeah, that's kind of, he's right. Like, it's like while I'm, on tour during the day, I'm zooming and, creating these TV shows and writing scripts and sending out documents. It's definitely a way different way to be doing stand up than I've ever done before, but it's fun.
Have you like found different ways to more or less like compartmentalize yourself and your humor? Because like you've written for a lot of different stuff.
Yeah.
And I think there are some writers that have a really intelligent ability to be like, oh, I'm writing this character and I can think how that character thinks. And other people, you're like, oh yeah, that person wrote that because they just write themselves everywhere they go.
Yeah. For me, it's like, I feel like I'm always writing from like my point of view and like my life essentially. So I feel like I'm always like taking things from my life and then, creating them. So in a way, I sort of always know the characters I'm writing. And then for certain people, like when I wrote for Adam Pally, like, how funny he is and his own comedic point of view. So you sort of like take, what you like about the character from your own life or, that you created. And then you sort of, meld that together with the actor, who you're working with. Cause obviously you could write all these shows all you want, but like at the end of the day, like the actors are gonna, elevate the material to a way where it'll become a hit show or not. I just think like a lot of it is sort of that lightning in a bottle, like, chemistry that the actors have with your material.
Right. Well, let's jump back because you're an East Coast guy, right?
I'm an East Coast guy. Stanford, Connecticut, Lyme disease, deer. Let's do it.
Yeah. What was life like?
Check.
What was life like growing up in Stanford? Because that's like what's like the home of ESPN and like really good pizza, right?
Yeah, well, actually, it's the home of formerly WWF, now WWE. ESPN is in Bristol, like up north, but Stanford, really, WWE is the headquarters. Like in high school, when we had anyone speak to us about like don't do drugs or make good life choices, it was always WWE wrestlers coming into our auditorium, jacked up on steroids, telling us not to do drugs. It was pretty great.
Wait, who is coming into your auditorium?
They would just grab like any sort of like B, C level wrestler who was a Vail and in town, and they'd be like, go to Stanford High and talk to the kids. And they'd come in like just jacked up and be like, you don't want to do marijuana. You want to fucking do HGH and you want a body slam. And we'd be like, what is this? What is the meeting?
Oh my God. Yeah, I remember we had Debo from Friday come to our school.
Oh, that's a good one.
And he told us not to do drugs. And he also told us to stay out of gangs.
That's good advice.
I mean, the school I was at, there was a tiny bit of a gang problem, but like the gangs were called like Bebe's kids, like this was not like Bloods and Crips. Yeah. This is, I want to be in a cartoon sort of thing. That's gnarly though. I think especially like now, when you kind of look at like growing up in that, like that sort of world, cause you also got to go to the city a bunch, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
you're
pretty adjacent.
Yeah. Stanford's like 45 minutes. So, we grew up sort of going into the city all the time, seeing shows, seeing people. But Stanford was a very sort of, I feel like I had a really normal, good, great childhood where I grew up. I did all the stupid things. I wanted to be in a band and be into Red Hot Chili Peppers. I got very into rollerblading. I tried to go pro, all that stuff you do, in the mid 90s, as a white boy in the suburbs, I was trying to pursue.
Wait, you said tried to go pro.
Yes.
How far did you actually make it in terms of going pro?
I had a wheel sponsor, Fat Wheels. And I was very early, especially in Stanford. I was definitely in the early group of kids who were like rollerblading, where everyone was skateboarding, and we're sort of like, wait, rollerblading might be easier, so let's do that. We can still wear the cool clothes. Throw in my Jinkos, let's go blading. So I was like, rail sliding, going down stairs backwards. I think like the coolest thing I ever did was like rail slide into like a 74 steps backwards. So unfortunately, there was no video of anything like there is now videoing everything. So I don't have any footage of me actually like rollerblading. I have pictures and stuff, but I'm so mad that I don't have me like in downtown Stanford at Bennigan's, running from security, because that's the kind of footage that I could use to create the next great show. Rollerblading guy.
Well, no, we'll kind of like stay on some of that stuff, but there is this like resurgence of comedy that feels very like 90s-esque. They're doing like they're 90s show.
Oh yeah, they're doing
right?
that 90s show on Netflix. I mean, everything's coming back in such a crazy way that I know we'll get the clothes and stuff. Like I find myself on eBay searching for stuff that I wore like in camp. I'm like, oh my God, that Urkel shirt is $2,600 now. Like, it's like, what the hell is happening? Especially in the vintage world, in the vintage t-shirt world, it's like out of control 90s. But even, a lot of stuff that like Noah is doing, they're going into sort of like the Billabong stuff and all this stuff that you would get at like Pacific Somewhere in the 90s. And they're sort of like, they're I wouldn't say they're like copying, but they're definitely getting inspiration from those looks and those brands.
Yeah, people are leaning super hard into the nostalgia. And I think like as it feels like our generation are now the new like most like dispensable income or disposable income in terms of like consumers, and which is like, hell yeah, I'll drop $500 on a t-shirt. What you like?
I know.
Like that's like the new target market. It's just like, oh, let's make Stranger Things. We're gonna use this song. We're going to play Kate Bush for 9.5 hours.
Oh my God.
And no matter what happens.
I mean, look at Metallica. Metallica's like the biggest band in the world. Again, they're like, what's happening? We're 70.
Dude, and they're making more money off of the publishing of their songs and video games. Like I get ads for this stupid app, and it's like, learn how to play, Enter Sandman through this like Guitar Hero iPad sort of supplement. And like people are freaking buying it and going nuts.
I get it because like, as someone who's sort of been, essentially like collecting sneakers for 20 years, like for me, it was always nostalgia. It was always nostalgic. That was always the reason why I was like hunting for like the Air Max trainers and all the Bo Jackson stuff, and, big Agassi fan, just because of like what I remember from my childhood, like wanting those things, not being able to get those things, seeing them, and seeing these sort of athletes inspire everyone, and then wanting it, as like an adult person trying to get what I didn't have. And I feel like that's just happening just constantly for all these people. And it's even funnier now that this like younger generation is buying all this stuff because it's not even nostalgic for them. So it's like, how do you guys even care about that specific Stussy shirt? It's like you weren't wearing it in 7th grade. I was. Get off my eBay.
Seeing a 15-year-old in like Jordan Cement 3s, I'm just like head shaking.
Oh, I know.
When they're like, yo, but these are the ones that he actually wore. Yeah. And I'm like, you weren't alive when he played.
Yeah, but I saw the documentary during the pandemic. Okay, get out of here.
Yeah, that's a real thing. So when did you think you started like getting more into clothes and stuff? Because I think you're also part of this resurgence is not the word I want to use, but like there's this new sort of generation of younger comics and people in the industry that have like are into clothes and they don't have like brand endorsement deals. It's not like, oh, well, this guy wears clothes because he's George Clooney and he's, got like an Omega deal or something like that. Like this is like you, Pally, a handful of other people have like definitely embraced liking clothes, but also like still being in the industry, which means you can actually afford the clothes that you're getting versus everyone else just like saves it on Instagram.
Well, it was bad when Pally and I were working together every day because it was just like constantly buying shit. I was like, we are going in debt. We also were able to control the wardrobe on the show too. So we'd be like, we need the characters to wear all of these clothes. But
yeah, there was a lot of high end shit on in debt.
Yeah, I know. It was a shame that we only got to make 12 episodes, but the clothing was going to get out of control as it went further. They're like, does he live in the suburbs? We're like, he lives in a place where he get the clothes. So
yeah, he's online.
He's online. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's sort of just like I said, like I was always, very aware of like sneakers and streetwear, just because of like, my interest and just collecting it forever. And I've said this on other podcasts, I've been sort of in and out of sneakers because I get very frustrated with the sneaker world and how excessive it's become and how young the people are who are buying the shoes. And it's like what you just said, where you see like a 15-year-old kid, or younger in a pair of like Off-White. And you're like, why do I want what the 15-year-old has? Like I'm 40, so it gets, and then the idea that anyone, and I think these websites, obviously like StockX and everything, eBay and Grailed, it's great that you can get anything you want. But at the same time, for me, what was exciting about all this stuff was like the hunt, which is why I think I've gotten more into like vintage, the past couple of years, because it's harder to get, it's harder to find. And I think what's happening now is like, if some like 14-year-old kid, wants, I don't know, like the Air Tech Challenge, not that he'd ever want like, a pair of Agassiz, but if he does, he could just go on StockX and pay like $800 for them. And then he has them at his feet, where like I would like sleep at Nike Town in Boston to get like the military fours. Not that that was a good idea, but I'm just saying like it was definitely like an experience. So for me, I feel like it started, with sneakers. And then as I got sort of more frustrated with the sneaker sort of world and like how everyone was just sort of always wanting the same thing, it sort of kind of like slowly got into like other clothes and different things. And then, I never was into necessarily Supreme, but I really sort of like, I appreciate the brand and sort of not I don't appreciate anyone who works at the stores, because every time you go in, they're just like giant assobes. That's like when you go to Supreme.
Yeah,
like,
you dodged a bullet there.
Do you have large? Fuck you. What? Don't you work here? That's my impression of being in Supreme. But people I talk about all the time, but like John Elliott, I really feel like was like a game changer for me in terms of like, simple basics, like high-end simple basics that just like look good no matter what. And then, from there, you just sort of start seeing different things. And I started, I was always into jackets and, wearing leather jackets and just different sort of apparel, and I think on stage. And I think as I sort of like move forward, honestly, in my career, like just going in different places, it just kind of snowballed into like, okay, I just want to like look a certain way and, make it happen. And then it's kind of how it sort of started.
Yeah. Cause you kind of had to figure out your style publicly, because I mean, you were doing comedy tours at like what, in your early 20s?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This is like hoodie and members only jacket with the, rectangle glasses.
Exactly.
Era.
Yeah. I was big into like, exactly. I mean, my looks were not always great. I mean, there was a period of time where I was always wearing a red and white Michael Jackson-esque Beat It jacket, where I thought was just so sick that I got a Bloomingdale's. And I was rocking that. Lots of members only stuff. I went through a serious Puma phase. There was a period of time where Puma was sponsoring, a comedy tour, and I was just like rocking Puma head to toe. So, that was definitely, a different time than now, where I'm, wearing like Paul Smith tuxedos on stage. And,
right.
Corridor top, all these, Drake. I'm wearing these great black Drake's loafers right now that are tight.
Oh, okay.
And
have you gotten this stuff on Flow? Because I think it's funny. I do consulting for a few different fashion companies, and I've been in meetings and stuff, and they don't want influencers anymore. They don't care about like the blue check. They don't care about any of that. What they want is like people like yourself that are in the industry. Like they're like, oh, what, we need someone who the fashion world likes and respects, but like isn't 100% in on that. Like that is like the new sort of like format of what all these brands are doing now, is to kind of like kid out the people that are like adjacent to the industry now and appreciate it, versus some guy who like literally gets it and takes a picture of it on a hardwood floor and it's followed by 50 other things you just got for free.
Yeah. No, that's smart though, because it feels more organic. And that's sort of what I feel like. That's what I think everyone's chasing, is like everything now everything is like so forced upon us, with all sorts of social media, that I feel like, organic ways that people are now wearing clothes is the most like real. That's what I want to see. I want to see people who actually care about what they're wearing, not necessarily like, oh, I just got this blazer, let me throw it on. It's like in a box with 1,000 other things, Yeah.
Well, and there's also a new sort of resurgence here. I'm curious your take on this for knockoff stuff. And you got a deep connection to the knockoff industry in the family,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Not necessarily knockoff, but my dad was an as seen on TV salesman. So I feel like throughout some of his product days, there were definitely some non-licensed frozen humidifiers that his company did sell.
Well, and wasn't it like your uncle sold like knockoff belts?
Yeah. There was lots of that. There was also a period of time where my dad was selling like Nintendo sunglasses that were also not Nintendo, and they were like basically like Oakley Razor ripoffs, but they said like Nintendo on the side, and I like wish we still had them. I remember going to his office and I'm being like, "Whoa, these are awesome." He's like, "Yeah, they're Nintendo sunglasses." I was like,
"You got to find the storage."
I know. It'd be so sick. I'm sure he didn't save anything. All my dad saves is mugs and hats.
Well, there's a pretty good market for that
I know.
I guess. Did you perform in Vegas with Mulaney?
I performed in Vegas before. We haven't performed in Vegas on this tour.
Okay.
But yeah, Vegas is actually kind of the worst place to do comedy because it's the one place where people are sort of in and out, where it's like they produce the shows in a way where it's like you can't stay that long because they want you in the casino. So like back in the day.
Yes. It is now time for advice from Jeremy, yours truly, courtesy of Standard and Strange. By the way, this is an actual email that I received. Jeremy, I'm starting my wardrobe from scratch, and I'm looking for the perfect jean. I want a jean that doesn't make me look like I'm trying too hard. Well, we'll figure that out. And I can wear it with every kind of thing I own. Does it exist? Well, first off, welcome to the show. And if you're like me, let's be honest, you need more than one pair of jeans. This is no ring of power here. This is not one jean to rule them all. I think you need more than one. You want a beat-up looking pair and a fresh one. But there is a jean that, in my opinion, works with everything. But more importantly, where do you get it? You already know where I'm going to point you to. The folks at Standard and Strange. Not only are they my go-to retailer for denim, boots, and workwear, they're just a brand that's not run by an algorithm. They're not going to push you into something expensive. Come to think of it, I'm not sure they're going to push you into anything. They're just here to help, and I truly love that about them. So yes, you're fit. Go with a Warehouse Lot 800 from Standard & Strange. It's a roomy straight leg cut and Warehouse's own selvage denim made up of cotton from 3 different U.S. states. Look at that. We're all going to get along now. You get a nice fade that's even, and it will go with everything you love. All right, Mr. Anonymous? And if you need sizing help, go to the folks at Standard & Strange at standardandstrange.com. Tell them your boy Jer Bear sent you, and you're ready to own fewer, better things at standardandstrange.com. Over the years, I've had the joy of trying tons of brands. Some good, some bad, always trying to figure out what works for me. But a brand I've loved and continue to love is Proper Cloth. Founded in 2008, Proper Cloth has revolutionized the custom clothing experience, and it's been where I get my button-downs and dress shirts from, and I haven't looked back. They just get better. From incredible Italian fabrics to that perfect collar, Proper Cloth has made a seamless process to either measure your favorite shirt yourself or just visit one of their showrooms in New York City. And if you're looking for something more casual, Proper Cloth will let you custom order a polo shirt with incredible fabrics from some of the best mills in Italy. Take my advice and get a long sleeve polo. Wear that under a Proper Cloth shirt jacket and you got a stew going, my friend. Fun tip, what shirts do you need in your wardrobe? Blue and white Oxfords, folks, and a Bengal stripe. Let's go. Those are the 3. Get them now at propercloth.com. So go custom like your boy or ready to wear. Visit propercloth.com to learn more. That's propercloth.com.
Performer like Harrah's Improv, and you do like 19 shows, in 7 days, and it's like in and out. It's like they don't want the shows to be longer than like 45 minutes because they want people in and out. And it's just like the people who are like, not necessarily people who are going to like a John show or one of these bigger shows in Vegas, but people who are going to like the Improv on like a Wednesday at 8:00. Like they just lost a shitload of money, and they're just waiting they're just looking for a thing to do where they won't spend money, and that's just like staring at me, just like a bunch of like depressed people in cowboy hats.
When you were touring, like, younger Dan days, when you're touring and you got the members only stuff, how was the comedy scene friendly wise to you when you were coming up? Because I think also at that era, that's when comedians started to become like serious celebrities. And this is like post Eddie Murphy, but more like Seinfeld, where it's like Attell and
it was like
Black and
Lewis Black, Dave Attell, Greg Giraldo, Dane Cook. Like that was like those were like the biggest guys when I was sort of like on the road during that time. And it was totally it was fun. I mean, I was at like Go Banana Cincinnati. You know, you were at these kind of comedy clubs where, you know, people, it wasn't like how it is now where there are actually comedy fans. And I feel like there's like this second boom like there was in the 80s, you know, but where people are just very aware of stand-up comedy now, which is so awesome because there's just so many huge comics. But, you know, when I feel like when I was like on the road back then, it was like people were like aware of comedy, but I was on Chelsea Lately, that show back in the day then. So that was sort of like a great thing to do when you were performing, because it really, a lot of people, there were some diehard fans. So you'd go out to a club and there'd be like tons of Chelsea Lately fans there, but it was still sort of like the building phase of sort of like the pre-boom, the pre-second boom of stand-up, I'd say.
Yeah. And then so you did this for a few years, right? And then the entertainment world like came knocking, right? Like, was this just like you're doing a special and then someone hires you for punch-ups, or did you kind of get more fully submersed in the TV industry?
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning it was like stand-up hosting shows and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then as far as like the sitcom, like television thing, what happened was I was writing a TV pilot for NBC and Whitney Cummings was writing her show for NBC and her show for CBS. And we're friends.
She had two shows?
Yeah. So we're friends. So we were sort of punching each other's scripts up. And then she was like, hey, if one of my shows gets picked up, will you work on my show? And I was like, I've never done that before, but that sounds kind of fun. So I went to the taping of Two Broke Girls, when the taping of Whitney. And then when they both got picked up. And then I worked on her show. And then that was the first time I entered like a sitcom writer's room. And I was like, oh, this is cool. These people are super funny. A lot of them were like comedians back in the day or Second City people. And that staff at Whitney, I think like 5 of us have had our own shows on the air. Like it was an incredible group of people she put together. Yeah. So it was really, really fun. And then we did like 2 seasons. And then I was just sort of like in that sort of world. And then I realized it was really fun and I was still like performing, but it kind of got deeper and deeper into it. Then I worked on Mulaney had a sitcom back in the day. Then I worked on this animated show called The Awesomes. That was really fun that I did with my buddy Dan Mintz and Seth Meyers. And then after that, then I worked on The Goldbergs. And then that was a really fun experience because then I was sort of inside a hit show. Like I joined season 3 and I was there for 5 years or whatever. And it was just to be working on a show that was just, you know, it's still like the number one network comedy in America. It was just really fun and a cool thing to see. And that's where I, you know, met my producer who I did my own sitcom with. And then I sort of was just, you know, based out of Sony in Culver City, which is very far from everything, but, you know, respect. I was there for a while. You know, doing stuff. And the show that I'm still doing, the show that takes place, speaking of nostalgia, in 1998, based on Kevin Hart.
This is the Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart worked at a sneaker store, is with that same group of people. So that's kind of how all of my writing stuff happened. And then in the meantime, you know, I also like jumped on, I wrote like on the Justin Bieber roast, and I've sort of like, you know, wrote a movie and, you know, I've done like doing all that kind of stuff coinciding with all like the TV stuff.
Yeah. Cause I think there is not, I have a few other friends who are writers, and there's like 2 different camps. And one is just like, we're just friends and we're hanging out, eating pirate's booty, like riffing at each other. And others who are approaching this as like, this is the highest art form of, you know, comedy of all times, is working as a team and learning how to edit and learn, like, because there's just not enough attention, I think, on the writers' rooms, on like how that actually works. And even the people that are on there, when you look at just like the people that have written on The Simpsons, and I mean, it's all like just comedy gods.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, I prefer to, you know, eat pirate's booty and laugh than think of it as like the highest art form, because really for me, the most fun you could ever have in a writer's room is when everyone's together and you guys are crying, laughing about something that's not even necessarily something for the show. You know, it's just like to get like the group of like the funniest people that you could in together and just laugh all the time. Like that just leads to like, I feel like great, writing, and just sort of like, for me, it's like the vibe and the energy, you know, it's like, who is the top and how funny is that person? And that to me is the most important thing. It's like, if you are working on a TV show, your boss gotta be, and it just,
Yeah.
you want to be, everyone is like, making a TV show is very stressful, no matter if it's a good show or it's a bad show. It's like the process is the same. It's no matter what. It's like table read, run through, rewriting, answering questions, picking props, dealing with actors, dealing with networks, rewriting gay notes. Like that process is the same. It doesn't matter. So it's going to be so stressful that your boss, is going to be stressed out. But if they're like, at their core, like, funny person and super talented, like it's still going to be fun. There's just going to be moments, highs and lows, like any job really. But, for me, when I was under all that stress of making a show, like I was surrounded with myself by, just people who I, thought were very funny, and it just sort of like helped, because for me, that's kind of when I'm the most, when I'm like, just like I said, like when I'm like dying laughing at something, like I just like feel the best, like Adam Pally is the fucking funniest dude. So like we could be very stressed out and whatever, but like he is going to kill me. So at the end of the day, that's like the most important thing to me in a writer's room, and I'm sure like when you talk about like, and you look at like the writers on, The Simpsons, or especially if you look at like the Dana Carvey show, I don't know if you've seen that documentary, but like, that's like one of the best like comedy writing staffs of all time. And the show didn't work out, but when they talk about making that show, like that they were just like dying laughing all the time, making fun of the show, like a lot of times you're making fun of your own show, like.
The riffs on sponsors when they had like Yellow 5 dance across the stage.
Because the things that happen when you're making a TV show are so ridiculous that like you have to make fun of it or you will die, So it's like, and there's always something with like the food, or like my wife worked on my show, and like, well, no matter what she does, whatever she orders lunch, the lunch will be wrong, so like she will order like a pizza and like a bowl of lettuce with a raisin will show up. Like it's almost like her life is constantly a prank. But that's the kind of stuff that like you want to happen, you want to like try to keep it like light and funny as much as you possibly can, because there's a lot of work to do,
right.
And that's what I find to be like the biggest difference now, versus pre-pandemic, because there was never a question about, writer's room. Like you had to be inside like a small room eating pirate's booty and, looking up Zillow listings. Like that's the job. But now it's like, there's so much fucking COVID, especially in LA, that you have to be on Zoom. And like, I worked on a show that was all on Zoom, and it was just like, it's not the same thing,
no.
Yeah. But now, I'm back in person with certain things, and it's all good. But I feel like that is one thing that is just not the same.
What would you say? Like, okay, people talk about the show West Wing, how it was super accurate in terms of politics, or Veep was super accurate in terms of like what people actually behaved. Is there a show that you think was made that's very accurate on what a real writer's room is like?
I think there is remember the movie, is it called TV Set? The TV Set?
Yeah, or I mean, some people have said Larry Sanders is pretty similar to like what Real Late Night was like.
Larry Sanders, Larry Sanders totally is. I would say yes, the TV Set. That's the name of it. It's a movie by Jake Kasdan. Okay. It came out 2006. It is exactly what it's like to make a TV show, make a pilot. Oh
damn! I'll have to check this out.
It's really good, very funny.
Sigourney Weaver and David Duchovny.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. That's very, very similar. Also, if you watch Curb this season, when he's like meeting with the executives and the young Larry situation, like that felt very real in like a hilarious way. I mean, when you're Larry David, you're meeting with like the president. You don't have to necessarily like have like the meetings with the president. But the dynamics and the conversations and like all the bullshit that he's going through making young Larry is dead on. So I was dying with all that, like, them wanting to cast certain people and then be excited about people, like all that stuff is so real. It's so funny.
Oh, damn. Yeah, there's some, like, I feel like I'm more interested in how things are made almost than like what the product is. Like even, because Larry Sanders, they would show like part of the show, but it was always like the show was making the show. It was less the final product.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. That's the sick stuff. Let's get to close, because obviously the TV stuff is amazing and it's your calling card. But I think the close thing have been a very, very huge thing over time. And I think especially because you get like getting budget to get crazy stuff. Like, do you ever feel like you get the opportunity to experiment on things without taking the risk? Like you can order that stuff and see it in person because it was part of the show, but you're like, maybe it's not for me.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, I feel like I know my boundaries boundaries with clothes. Like I feel like I push it to a certain level. Like I know I've talked about like this one outfit I've been wearing on stage, which is like the Noah leopard blazer with my Dead President's pants and my Gucci boots, and that's like a pretty great look, and I feel like that's as big as I'll go. But yeah, I'm like really into these suits. I have the guys at Libero are like making me an amazing blazer, so I'm really excited about that. And yeah, I just I have this like gray leather like John Elliott bomber from like 2006 that is just like really like soft leather, and it's been amazing to wear. I have another like black and white Noah jacket that I wear too, and then I have this like teal Paul Smith tuxedo that
I've seen that
I really like, and then I have this purple Paul Smith travel suit that's great, and then there's also this other like dark like navy blue Hugo Boss suit that I really like. But what I've been really sort of like staring at all day long lately is the Ryan Gosling Gucci double-breasted suit that he recently wore with those Gucci loafers that are only available in Europe. So I've been sort of hovering that look, trying to figure out the best way.
Oh, you can proxy. It's pretty easy to get that stuff. The euro and dollar's on par now too. It's
really
you can get it sent over.
I was looking different places. I called. They were like, we can't get it. I don't know. Maybe I need someone like you to be my middleman to get me these Gucci loafers. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, yeah. I know what you're talking about. Those are sick. Have you ever dabbled in like bespoke stuff? I mean, it sounds like you said some people were making you some stuff too. Because that's always been my thing. Is I would find the pictures, and at least for me, it would be something stupid like Paul Newman or McQueen, and I would bring that to the tailor, and I would be like, "This is what I'm trying to make."
Oh, that's awesome.
And they'd be like, "Yeah, oh, let's do that, or let's use this fabric," versus like making something or like buying something that technically some other dude could get, which might be a clown, and I don't want to look like that.
Yeah,
clown,
exactly. No, I found this like incredible Russian tailor like down the street, and I will have her tailor certain pants and do for certain like crop looks, and I have done that, and then some, but it's like sometimes I get nervous though, because I'm like I had these like great like Carhartt, these like white sort of these great like thick just white Carhartt pants, right? And I want them to be cropped a specific way that I've seen, and they went too high. She went too high, and she's done such a good job on other things,
Yeah.
But like, especially sometimes like on some like old like vintage stuff that like is perfect, but maybe like a tad too long, and I want to bring it up, to like some like she's been good on certain things. So then when she fucked up the pants, I had to forgive her, but it's upsetting, because then it's like, what do I do? Got to start over.
I had that happen where like I even caught my tailor in a lie, because like since I moved back to the Midwest, like it's been tough to find a tailor as good as the ones I was. They're way cheaper.
Sure, yeah.
But like, this woman, she's like, I can't alter that jacket, like it's glues. And I was like, no, I was like, this is bespoke. It's all by hand. Like it's not. And she's like, no. And I'm like showing her how she can open it up. And she's like, Dad, just lose weight. And I'm like, what the fuck?
No. Oh my God. Yeah, no, I have been, I have been thinking that's sort of what's been cool about those guys. They're sort of like, putting something like just a one of a kind thing for me to wear on stage, which is going to be great.
So you've been on tour with Mulaney.
Yes.
How has that been in terms of just like, the muscle of stand up again? Do you feel like that's, if you had to only do one thing, that you would stay doing stand up, or would you stay doing TV?
They're so different. The thing that is the best about jumping back into stand-up after writing for like networks and things for so long is that there is no one I need to talk to before I perform. It's like I think of something funny like on my flight, and then I could just say it there, and the audience tells me immediately if it's funny or not. Whereas when you are working on a TV show, you have to like write the story for the script. People need to approve it, a studio, producers, network. Then you get notes, then you rewrite it, then you send it back to them. Then they go, that's great. Now write an outline. Then you write an outline. Then you send it back to your producer. Then you rewrite it. Then you send it back to the studio. Then you rewrite. Then you send it to the network. They go, great, write the script. Then you write the script. Then you get notes. Then you do table read. Then you get notes. And it's like, oh yeah, so you are rewriting your idea like over and over again, and it's exhausting, and it's fun, and it's the process, but it's, very refreshing to just kind of go, hey, is this funny? And then everyone just laughs and you're like, all right, well, this is a great night. 14,000 people are laughing at this thing I thought of 4 hours ago, and like, that's been really so fun. And his audiences are like, ridiculous, and the tour is massive, and I've never performed. The biggest show I did before this was I did Gator Growl, which is like the biggest like outdoor comedy event in the country. It's at University of Florida. It's their homecoming event, and I did it years ago. It's at the football stadium, and I did it years and years ago when I was doing tons of colleges, and that show was the biggest show I've ever done. And then I've done like comedy clubs and 2,000 seat theaters, whatever. But then to like jump in front of Red Rocks, which is like 8,000 people outside back to back, it was just totally nuts, but so fun. And now, it's just, you just kind of like anything, it's just the repetition. Now it's been like 2 or 3 months of doing these shows, sometimes like 4 or 5, a week, and just kind of like, just getting used to it and just really, really working that muscle. And it's been so fun.
Do you, for like your editing stuff, like, do you and like Mulaney collab on things, or do you ever run stuff that you're doing by like friends or other people? Like, hey, does this feel funny to you? Or is it just like, nope, I want no influence. This is my head.
Totally. No, I always sort of like run like after a show or like really, it's like funny is people ask that a lot. Like, do you guys talk about jokes? And like we do, but it's always like either seconds before I walk on stage, like I'll be like, oh, is this funny? And then he'll be like, yeah, or say this. And like he loves like pitching me something to say. And then if it bombs, like I can always hear him like laughing, if this happened like once or twice where I do this whole joke about gossip, and I keep like just changing what the gossip is every time I get it. And there was just one night where he like said some line to me that was going to be like the gossip joke, and it just got nothing. And it's funny when you get nothing in an arena, because like it's so loud, crushing, and then I'm like, gah, 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 and it was like, what? I'm like, God damn it! And I hear him like, ha ha ha. So I feel like, that's really where we kind of like, pre-show and like right after the show, if I, I'll watch it, I'll say, oh, maybe say this next time or whatever. Or, and he'll do the same thing. Like, oh, change that. And then, then I just have like other, like, some friends I just like talk to, all the time. And I'll be like, oh, is this funny? And then that's sort of as far as it goes,
right.
But yeah, it's fun because really when you're up there, it's like, even if you have like the pitch or the joke that you want to change, it's really like seconds before I say that I'm just deciding, like if I can just sort of get the vibe of the audience, like if everything is like, if they're going nuts, I know like I can sort of be I might throw in like a few new things, and then if it's sort of like, okay, this is just, they want to laugh and they want to see John, like I'm just going to like go, get through my bit and,
a lot of your stuff, you like lean into your family, your kids.
Yeah.
How much do you think like having kids? Because so we just had our second kid
Mazel.
Thank you, on the 11th, and it is a shit show.
Oh, yeah.
It's great.
The 11th.
Don't get me wrong.
The 11th of July.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You're like really.
He's not even a month old.
Oh Jesus. Okay.
And having kids like definitely opens up this other art form or like appreciation for especially like comedy, just hearing like stuff that's done. Like how much do you think like that's really changed and affected you? Because you have 3, right?
Yeah, I have 3 kids. I have a 9-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a baby. Latest one's a baby. I mean, it definitely has sort of like shaped my point of view. I think like, comedians, you're always trying to like find out, you always want to know like what's their POV, like where are these opinions coming from? Because then you have a sense of like who they are. And that's the funniest people, in my opinion, is like who has the strongest point of view. Bill Burr, great point of view. Chris Rock, incredible point of view, So, I think, for me, starting out so young and just being like 20 and just my point of view was I fucking love comedy. Like that really, that's what I was, with like no life experience. So I think the more life experience you have, like the funnier you just are as a person, let alone a stand up. So I think, like having kids has sort of completely changed my perspective on like life, and the things that I've been through with kids, has shaped the way I see the world. So I think that's just kind of where I'm coming from. So I think like, the top of my set, I talk about sort of my life and my kids, and then I kind of get into sort of like, what I think about everything and things that have happened to me and, all that kind of stuff. Very hard hitting topics like gossip, very controversial, etc.
Well, it's funny because, like, at least for me, those were some of the things. And there are comedians whom it's not like they used to be labeled like clean comedy, right? Because they just like didn't, but it's like where this stuff, it just felt like more relatable.
Right.
And I think like, and maybe it's because now I have kids, but it's like I'll listen, because I listen to a shit ton of stand up and, and a lot of it now is on podcasts and stuff, but like hearing things where it's like, oh, how this person's like kid ruined their entire flight and that ruined their vacation, but like, they still love them sort of thing. Like I think is like some of the funniest shit I've ever heard.
Yeah. Like I was just thinking the other day, I was like, one of the worst places to go as a parent is the beach. Cause it's like a goddamn nightmare. Cause you're like, we want to go to the beach. It's going to be so fun. And then you get there. It's like, no, they're fucking eating sand. All they want to do is buy a fucking popsicle. All they want to go is a snack bar. You have to put sunscreen on and they hate sunscreen. Then you get a fucking sunburn. It's like that is, I mean, I don't know what the joke is, but it's just like that sort of experience has become a goddamn nightmare. And when people talk about it, it is just very relatable.
Yeah, I mean, it's a total shit show. I hate the beach. We have to go to the beach every other year. We go to Hilton Head Island with my in-laws, and they like, they do it all up. They rent this like really nice house, and but we always have to do this sort of like white family beach picture, which is like, the polo shirt and the shorts, or like everyone's wearing like men are wearing blue, and it's like the same thing. And you go get the photo taken at like, at magic hour. It's like 7:00 at night. All the kids haven't eaten yet. You're bribing everyone with popsicles or any sort of dumb shit. It is the fucking worst ever. And then you see the images and it's like these Tim and Eric looking smiles that everyone's doing throughout the thing. And you're just like, no one was happy.
Yeah.
It's just like, why are we doing this?
That's so funny. Yeah. And another big part of my show I've been doing is sort of like talking about like how you need to appreciate your 20s. Cause like looking back, like I feel like that was like the time where you could like fuck up the most. No one cares what you're saying. No one cares about your opinion. You think you matter, but you don't, and I end the show with the story about like moving to LA. The first day I moved to LA with my friend. And if you come to the show, you get to see the whole bit. But yeah, that's been also like a fun, like relatable thing, is sort of like talking about like my life now versus like what my life was, and how every moment of your life you think like matters the most. But like really, It doesn't matter, especially when you're in your 20s. It's like
there's nothing that you fucking do then that matters.
No one listens to you,
unless you're like
you try to have a conversation with your parents, like they're like, you're a fucking idiot, and you're like, what? No, I live by myself. It's like, no, you're an idiot. Stop calling me.
Yeah, people be like, oh, talk to me after you paid taxes for 10 years and whatever, and you're like, what the hell? Taxes? Like I didn't know that.
And then you pay taxes. You're like, fuck, I think I'm suicidal.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. On the close game, what have been some of the things that you've held on to the longest? Because you've gone through, if I could like almost post pictures of like the different iterations of, Levy style here.
Yes.
Like what are the things that you've like that I've held on to the most? Like I've heard the leather jacket from John Elliott. You said from like 2016?
Yes, I've held on to that. I still have my red and white motorcycle leather jacket. That's like,
does it get airtime?
Doesn't get airtime, but I have it in the closet. I have a lot of starter jackets. I have a lot of vintage Whalers starter jackets. I have like the white one with Whalers across. These aren't necessarily like, clothes I wear on stage, but I have some, I guess I would have a
like these are things like your wife said, we're purging your wardrobe now. I'm tired of this shit, and everything's in garbage bags. And these are the things that you like. You threaten walking out on if she's going to put it in the bag.
Yeah, I would say I have like an old denim shirt that just does not go anywhere. That's just been I like refuse to let go. I think I got like in 2002. That's now definitely back in stock.
Are you in your closet right now? Because I see you looking looking to your right.
Also, I would say this, I would say this Agassi windbreaker.
Is that new old stock? I see a tag hanging from that.
This is an old one, but I still have a tag on it, which is crazy.
Wow.
And I'm trying to think. I have the Saint Laurent Teddy that I don't really wear, but I feel like everyone. That's a good example, right, of a jacket.
That's the LA entertainment industry jacket.
Right. That's why I don't wear it. That's why I can't wear it. And actually, Jake Wolf said that I should, just because I was like, I think I'm going to sell it because I don't want to wear it, because that is sort of like what everyone wears to a Lakers game. And I don't want to be that person. So I've had it for a long time. So I was like, let me sell this. And then Jake was like, you know what? you should hold on to it because like in a couple of years that people will be off that. And then you'll be like, yo, I still have my jacket. I've had it since before it was cool.
It's true. You want some of that stuff you want to let marinate in the wardrobe a little longer.
I mean, I will let marinate, but I'm nervous that it's become such a staple of the LA-ness that I'm nervous about it. But but it's a great jacket and I love it and it fits perfect. And it was a big deal when I got it. But that is something that I'm marinating, but I'm not sure. What would you do?
I mean, I would keep it.
Keep it.
You have it sounds like you have the space. Am I correct?
I mean,
on that?
I have the space, but I would say that it is it's tight in there. It's tight in there. But I have the space, so I will keep it. I also still have my my wedding tuxedo, but that's just something I don't know why I have it. I still have that, so I kept that.
There's the sanctity of your marriage is like is embroidered in the sleeve.
Exactly. Well, I always had this dream to have like a wedding party where you basically invite everyone who's married and they wear the clothes they wore to their wedding. And my wife said this is a terrible idea because people are going to be upset if they can't fit into their clothes.
Oh yeah.
I was like, yeah,
but that also kind of makes it the best idea.
It's a good idea for a party. Anyways, that's just nothing. And then I have just a bunch of sneakers that I won't let go. Like I have like that just a bunch of grapes from like 2002.
How do you store your sneakers? Are you like, is this a thing where like you save the box and then everything's in like plastic and it's vacuum sealed, or like what is this?
I've gone through like every phase of that, where like they're pretty much most of them are all in boxes. I mean, I've sold so many, I've gotten rid of so many that I don't have as much as I did. So I'd say like, but I don't know what if other people have done this, but it's like I have all my shoes in boxes for the most part, right? And then I have maybe like 20 that are out. And then what happens is I just wear the 20. I never open up the boxes. And then it's like, and I went through a period where I'm like, I don't want any dead stock sneakers because it's bullshit because sneakers crumble. They just do.
Yeah. It's a bad idea.
Bad idea, bad investment. Like don't spend a lot of money on sneakers unless you're going to wear them, So then I was like, fuck it. Then I started wearing all of them all the time on purpose. So now I have these shoes that are like not even dead stock. They're just in boxes like throughout. But there are some hype sneakers that I still like love. Like I love my Mars Yards. I love my Tom Sachs.
Oh,
I love my Sean Witherspoon.
Yeah, one or two Mars Yards.
I have the old one, the original, and then I have the new ones. But the new ones I bought in the wrong size twice. So one size they work. They're Adam size, so sent to Adam. And then this other pair, they are technically my size, but they feel like they're a little too big, so I might just sell them.
You should totally sell them. Like it's crazy. Like especially now, it's like people understand the value of clothes, especially shoes, more than ever.
Yeah.
And like you can sell all that stuff. I mean, I think that there's this newer sort of like market now of people that want to buy stuff from like celebrities and for, have you ever thought about doing some like a closet clean out like auction? Like I've mentioned this to like Ben Schwartz once too on a pod where he was like, actually, yeah, like, because I think that there's a huge like market and stuff there too. And even if it's like you do it for a good cause, like you just like liquidate, a third of the wardrobe that you don't care.
No, because I do feel like once a year I look at my closet, I'm like, I hate everything. Because I find myself like wanting to like, I have lots of clothes, but I'll find myself pretty much wearing like a black t-shirt and shorts, day to day. And then when I go out, I'll wear like whatever, my Ironheart jeans pretty much like every night. And then it's like, I'll wear loafers and whatever. But like I have so many t-shirts and so many flannels, but like I really find myself wearing like white t-shirt or black t-shirt every day. And I'm like, I could probably just have like just a bunch of different nice tees and I would probably be fine for the most part.
Yeah. Who turned you on to Ironheart? That's a very, very, if you know, brand.
Who turned me on to Ironheart? I mean, I think I just loving Self Edge, and kind of getting in there.
Oh, okay.
And just, they are just, it's the best jeans, and they tailor them right there for you.
What do you get 21 ounce or these,
I did
what's your jean
21
here?
ounce.
That's commitment.
Yeah, you got to do it. It's hot.
I know it's hot as hell, and like the LA heat and all that shit.
But they look so good with they look kind of good. I would say cuffed. They look incredible with either like Jordan 1s, which is something I always wear, loafers or boots. And it's like it's very rare where you could get sort of like, especially with some of these vintage jeans that I'll get. Like it's like they don't work with every sneaker or every shoe, especially like a loafer. Yeah. But these are
they're a little bit wider. I think a lot of the vibe that people do are like still like the stovepipe, like super tight taper, jeans. Like you remember when everyone was wearing like Balmain, like the motorcycle jeans with like the zippers everywhere?
I definitely had some of those.
Yeah.
I had like I had some weird Japanese stitching on the knees. You know, we've all gone through those. Like, what is this? I'm so mad about all the skinny jeans that I had. I mean, it's just such a bummer that I'm wearing the tightest clothes. But you know what? You live and you learn. That is the hard way we go through fashion, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I have my closet over there is filled with suits and clothes that I don't own, but like I am too lazy to sell. Like there's a garbage bag that is halfway, I don't know, the height of the door, so maybe 4 feet tall, filled with bullshit. Yeah. I gotta get rid of it.
Do you remember this brand? Oh, it was a bird. I forget. It was like, Modern Amusement. Modern Amusement. It was they were awesome. They gave me I wore a lot of their stuff like back in like the MTV days. Also collegehumor.com. I used to do a lot of stuff for them. They had a big live comedy tour. I was wearing I wore so much Modern Amusement. Every piece of clothing I had their little bird on it. They were a cool brand. I don't know. I think that they are no longer with us, but they made some great sweaters and lots and lots of sort of teal crows in the corner. It was incredible.
Yeah, I looked them up and their Instagram popped up and their bio is #FollowTheCrow.
There you go. Follow the crow, baby. They were
don't want to tell them how that ended. I don't think
they were awesome. Oh my god. Oh my god. So good.
Yeah. So when did you get into the vintage game? Because like now you're a big vintage tee guy. Like what's the Hall of Fame vintage tees now?
It's been going on for I feel like just years and years ago. Like I found all of my old shirts from like high school and like old like Franklin Don Mattingly shirts and just like a bunch of vintage stuff. I had a bunch of like vintage pony stuff from like my dad. So I always was sort of like, it was always in the wardrobe, but it was honestly during the pandemic. I was already, aware of all the stuff because of just like my love for like old Nike stuff, with like Round 2 in LA and Sean Witherspoon. Like always, I bought some stuff from him like throughout the years, but then during the pandemic, it really just became like, what else am I going to do? And I started watching, this dude on Instagram, 1980 something. He started doing, doing these live auctions and it was just hours of auctioning off vintage tees. And I don't know, it was so entertaining. And it was like exactly what I needed in like the height of the pandemic that I found myself just watching stuff, then, buying some stuff and then trading stuff and sort of like meeting this community of dudes, in LA. There's Second Isle, on Ventura. There's this dude, Joel. You've got Grail, who's on Instagram, who's always sort of like just, consulting, throwing things around. And yeah, just kind of, and then of course, like Old Man Allen, he reached out to me and he sort of was like, I got this Comedy Central hat from the 90s. And I like got that from him. And it's just became this sort of like ongoing sort of weird obsession where I was like originally only hunting Nike stuff. Then I was like all about Green Day tees, so I have like tons and tons of like 94, like the Dookie tour into, Insomniac tour, Kerplunk. Like I have a bunch of really great like Green Day stuff. I also just recently got like a Insomniac crew tee, like on a Wild Oats tag that has like, I think it was like a security guard who wore it one night and then that was it. It's like the cleanest like vintage t-shirt I've ever had, but I know it's from 96 because it has the right tag and everything. And then I kind of like, picked up some like Blink 182 stuff. And then it's just interesting the things that like I was like gravitating toward, became like really hot, it's like, these sort of like 90s bands that I saw in concert, whether it was like Silverchair or like Chili Peppers or whatever it was, they just like, for some reason it became like people were like going after these things. And I'm like, why do you want a Silverchair shirt? So Frog Stomp is awesome. And then I have some like great, like I got like a great like Lithium Grateful Dead tee, and I just have a bunch of cool stuff, and I think it really, I was always really interested in it and aware of it, and then I think like throughout the pandemic, I just got like deep into the community, and it's sort of like reminded me of like early like sneakerhead days where it's like it feels very small, and I like that it's like specific but nostalgic, and not brand new and hyped, like of course like all like the rap tees are out of control and people want those, but I'm not into any of those, but I appreciate them, but it's more just the old like Nike stuff into sort of like the grunge bands. And then, just because my son is super into horror stuff, that like in October, I was like, let me just pick up some, Jason tees and some Freddy Krueger stuff. Oh, shit. And that stuff is actually like a whole separate vintage world where people are obsessed with horror tees. And I didn't even realize like the level of, honestly like how much those go for. So I think I'm probably going to sell a bunch of these horror tees that I got like, just in the middle of the pandemic, because I'm not really necessarily want to run around town with like Freddy Krueger on my chest, but I do love him. But it was just, one of those things. But yeah, and then and that's pretty much it. And then I also have like some like great like vintage Patagonia and vintage Carhartt stuff that is sort of like, separate, but also, in that world.
Yeah, the vintage band tees, like I've always found like the best place to look is at like weird spots like Facebook Marketplace or like weird estate auctions. Like that's the one benefit of like living in the Midwest, where it's like I bought an old like Dylan shirt from like 89 and I got it for like $15.
Wow. See, that's like incredible. Yeah. And honestly, all of them are coming from Indonesia, because I think what's happening is that like, 20 years ago we shipped everything away, and now these dudes are just racking up bricks selling them back to America. It is insane. There's a dude on Instagram, I think his name is like Rude Boy Vintage or something. Like he sells all these t-shirts, these like LeBron tees, all these tees from like early 2000s. I'm not kidding. Every shirt this guy sells, he's like, yo, you want this shirt? $1,800, $2,700. I'm like, no, man, I don't want that. But thanks for reaching out. But it's just, he's got like everything, like Dennis Rodman rap tees, like stuff I've never seen before. And he's definitely selling them because it sells out. But a lot of these dudes are in Indonesia, and that's what's been, and I've met a lot of cool guys like in, Australia and New Zealand who sell a bunch of stuff. So it's interesting too how like the vintage kind of goes around the world, Yeah. So yeah, that's sort of my my situation.
Have you ever got any of the like incorrect sports shirts? So like, like there's a bunch of Buffalo Bills Super Bowl champion shirts, from like the 90s, and like things that were made because obviously like whenever a team won, like they immediately had the gear.
Right. No, I haven't. That would be a cool thing to get though. I have like some bootleg like Air Jordan stuff that's fun. Like I love the bootleg stuff, it's just I have like a Green Day bootleg tee that was like clearly like bought off the street from this company that I actually looked it up in LA because they're like an LA bootleg. They made all the bootleg shirts and they're no longer with us. But yeah, that would be a cool thing to get, all of sort of the losers, the loser tees. That would be great.
Yeah, I think like Jeremy Dean, he does Dean's Nuts. He kind of like blew up a bunch because he makes if his Instagram is at Dean's Nuts, and he worked for House Industries. Like he's been on the pod and stuff before, but he makes all these incredible shirts, but a lot of it is like Wonders of Black Flag, and it's like a lot of Dead inspired stuff.
Yeah, this guy Mike Gracie, who's great, does a lot of stuff for like the bootleg Dead stuff for like the Dead and Co tour right now. That's a lot of like Air Jordan inspired like Bart Simpson. It's
there's
really
there's
cool
just so much good shit in the tea world. I'll send you a shirt after this as a thank you.
Okay, all right.
Hopefully it'll be good. I don't know. It's PBS. It's a Yanni shirt. If you're ever into Yanni,
I love that. Yeah, I have this. I bought this NBC this 70s vintage shirt. And it just says the Peacock. And I bought it when I thought our show was going to get a season 2, and I was going to like wear it in like the press release. And I was like, here it is. And then as soon as it got canceled, I was like, fucking goddamn it. And then I put it under my bed. But now I'm doing the Kevin Hart shows for Peacock. So I'm like, all right, I got it back out. Let's see. Let's hopefully this will bring good luck this time. That's great.
We're starting to wrap up.
Okay.
And this is kind of a series of random questions here. So if you were making a YouTube how-to video, what would your subject be?
I would do how to do stand-up comedy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How important is the edit in stand-up comedy? Do you have the yellow notepad like the Seinfeld thing?
I don't have the yellow notepad, but it's almost like a joke because really the only way you do stand-up is by doing it. But I love talking about comedy, so I feel like it'd be more of a way for me just to make a video of me talking about comedy.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, well, because there was a masterclass of Steve Martin where he did a thing about like writing and comedy, and he got like a bunch of flack for it, and he was like, you can't, like, he talked about this on Stern. He was like, you can't freaking like teach someone how to do all this stuff in an hour. He's like, you need to just like do it over and over and over again.
You need to go on stage for 6 years. That's really how you do it. But I could talk about it. Like I could watch comedians talk forever. Like there was just like, I just watched like Jay Leno talk to Bill Maher for like 2 hours on some like podcast the other day. It's like, I can just hear these people talk about stand up and like, I feel like comedians love hearing people talk about like the early days of their specific comedy career because
Marin does that all the time.
It's just so relatable, and it's so fun to hear.
Are you team Leno?
No, I love Conan, but I also love I respect Jay Leno. You know, I think he's a guy who, like, you know, he has said and written so many jokes. You know, like when you hear him talk about like just his career, it's crazy. I mean, I wasn't around then, obviously, but people talk about like when Leno was like at the height of his stand up before the Tonight Show, there was like no funnier stand up than him. He would just absolutely murder. You know, so I love Conan so much, but I don't hate Leno. You know, I feel like
who do you think is an underrated? This is actually one of the questions. Who do you think is a comedian that's underappreciated and underrated?
I mean, I don't know if he's like underappreciated, but I think like Dave Attell is like the funniest comedian. You know, I love Dave Attell, but I think I wouldn't say he's underappreciated, underrated because he's been around forever. But like you know, I think he's someone who's like, you know, ridiculous.
Yeah, no, the early Attell stuff too, where it's like I watched a bunch of him, and I guess like it's like it was like some night, like some bootleg night at like Caroline's, and like Mitch Hedberg was on too, and stuff like. Well, it was like the
big before the year that Mitch Hedberg died. It was like him and Dave Attell and Lewis Black and Greg Giraldo were on tour together or something similar. But yeah, that was a big tour. I also loved Greg Giraldo.
Yeah,
he's one of
my
favorite
guys
comics.
Are hilarious.
Yeah.
Last movie you saw?
Last movie I saw was actually, I've been watching all the Marvel movies in chronological order.
Sorry for your loss.
It's been incredible. The first time I ever done it. And we just watched Endgame. That's where we got to. I'm watching with my son, and it's been amazing. I loved Endgame. And watching the movies, like I was never a Marvel person. I never watched Marvel movies. So we just have watched every single movie in chronological order, and watching it that way has been, and sometimes we'll watch like, you know, it's summer, so we'll watch like 2 movies in a row, and it's been so fun to watch.
That's got to be really cool, especially like to watch it with your kid. I mean, I'm looking forward to watching like Star Wars and stuff with my kid, but not the new Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not a Star Wars guy, and I've always, you know, been sort of like, you know, like superheroes, whatever, but I've never been into any of this kind of stuff. So watching it with him has been awesome. You know,
Winter Soldier is like,
that's the best movie.
Talk.
Yeah, that's like the best movie.
Yeah,
that's the best Marvel movie. Watching them all now, I think we're up to I forget what we're up to.
Endgame.
Endgame. What was the next one? I don't know. But that, Winter Soldier is one of the best movies. I'm like, my son, every time we watch the movies, I guess I just say out loud, like, damn, Chris Evans is ripped. What's his diet plan? So the other day, like, we were watching like Ant-Man, and my son was like, you want to know what the Ant-Man's diet plan is? And I was like, not the Ant-Man, but like everyone else looks at it like they're fucking ripped.
Yeah, I mean, well, you're a gym guy. You've always been pretty jacked.
Yeah, thank you.
You hit the gym all the time?
I do. I'm currently, you know, I had some bicep tendonitis, and then I had COVID, so I'm sort of giving myself 2 weeks of a break. But yeah, I try to work out 6 days a week.
6 days a week? Holy shit.
Yeah, I try in the morning.
For how long?
I try to like work out for like an hour in the morning every morning. It sort of like sets my day. But yeah, that's kind of how I.
Do you do cardio every day or 6 days a week?
I normally like warm up, you know, do like 20 minutes on like the Stairmaster or like a treadmill, and then I just like, you know, do some sort of weights, and then I'll, you know, shake it up. I'll go like for a hike or something like that. But I try to do something 6 days a week. It's hard, but when I'm like in the zone, the best, that's.
Do you also do like the diet thing attached to it? So like, are you like smoothies and pre-workout, post-workout?
It's hard right now just because of like my lifestyle is a bit harder. But like when it really dialed in, yes, like I will sort of like, you know, fully, you know, try to eat like as clean as possible, and, you know, try to stay healthy. But not really like a pre or post workout sort of thing. It's really, for me, it's the time is so hard. My time management is the hardest thing in my life. So trying to work out on top of like, you know, eating the right things and making the smoothies, all kinds of stuff, I just don't have enough time. So if I can just like work out in the morning and I get that done, I'm like happy with it. And then I just try to not, you know, I've been pretty much like eating pretty healthy for like, you know, 10 years now. So for the most part, I, you know sort of like what I eat, and I try not to like, you know, eat.
Define healthy. Like, you mean like you don't eat junk food,
like I don't eat like
you're
I don't
vegetarian?
No. Like I eat, not a vegetarian, I eat a ton of meat and stuff, but I try not to eat a lot of like junk. Like when I was younger, I ate like tons and tons of candy and all that shit, like chips and whatever, just anything. But I try not to do that. Yeah, I love hummus. I used to work with, I'll eat a lot of hummus and veggies.
Oh, hummus! Yeah, you're good. I used to work with Hugh Jackman, and he had a cooler, like this like duffel style cooler, everywhere he went, because he had to eat all the time, and then he would have smoothies at night before he went to bed. Like right before he went to sleep, he would always have to drink this. I mean, this is public knowledge, so it doesn't matter. He would always have to drink this like massive.
This is like during
smoothie.
Wolverine, right?
No.
Oh, wow.
This would I think he wasn't doing an X-Men project at the time, but like it was maybe when it was down the
like
road,
those,
but like,
though. I mean, when you could be that dialed in and have like doctors and trainers and all that kind of stuff, I mean, that's the best way to do it. I mean, look at Rob from Always Sunny. Like he documented the whole thing. It was incredible, but you need to like, it's so disciplined. It's like crazy, but no, I definitely love it. I think it's.
He said on like one of their pods that he spent like $500,000 like all in on everything.
I'm sure he wrote that whole funny Instagram about it. Like all you need is like a Hollywood trainer, a Hollywood chef, and you can't eat alcohol. You can't drink alcohol or eat anything besides like meat for like 6 months. It was incredible.
Yeah, it's nuts. The last album you heard?
The last album I heard.
I imagine Beyonce or something.
Yeah. I listened to the Beyonce album.
And
I like it. Yeah. I'm I like it when things like that come out. I just listen to them right away. I'm like, I just want to like get it in and see what it is. I like it. I'm not.
Yeah, so you can understand the jokes that will pop up on the internet.
I'm not like I wouldn't say I'm like necessarily in the beehive, but I love Beyonce.
Yeah. The last YouTube video you watched.
The last YouTube video I watched was definitely Jay Leno on Bill Maher's podcast. talking about Jay Leno, the stories you've heard over and over again about hiding in the closet and trying to get the Tonight Show.
The only ones I don't like are he's like, it's super easy to have money. Like I didn't spend any of my extra money. And it's like, yeah, you had 2 jobs, like, and one of those paid a lot.
I know.
He's like, yeah, it's easy to save money.
Touch my Tonight Show money. It's like, yeah, but you made like $19 million a year doing stand-up. In 1980.
Yeah, I know exactly. That's like Jim Carrey's Malibu mansions. Didn't he got like 20 million for Liar Liar?
Oh yeah. He should have. The movie's hilarious.
I mean, he's worth every penny. Trust me, I'm all for homie getting paid. It's just like I remember that was like Newsweek. Like our actors making too much money sort of thing. And it's like now Tom Cruise made $100 million off of him. This is like before all the everyone talked about like how the Twilight dudes made an absurd amount of money because they got money off the gross versus the Harry Potter dudes who got money off of the profits. Yeah. The line item for the first Harry Potter movie is like the books have not been closed on it. They're just like, hey, what's that to the P&L?
Just everyone go get butterbeer. Bye.
Yeah. The last thing you bought online.
The last thing I bought online was I hit the John Elliott summer sale and I got a bunch of shorts and a flannel and long sleeve tees.
So would you say that you're a sale guy? Because I've a friend of mine was telling me, he's like, whenever you buy things on sale, you're like justifying things you wouldn't have bought otherwise. Like the mindset of like, you should only buy the things exactly that you want.
That's
need
probably
and it costs
true.
What it costs.
Yeah. Cause I think, I buy a lot of stuff from John Elliott anyways, like throughout the year. So I sort of always know like what will fit perfectly. So for him, I will buy on sale because I know the sizes are going to be perfect. It's just like, some more tees or whatever, But I won't do that. Like I've made the mistake of buying some sale items off of Sense.com and then being like, what have I done? But yeah, I'll stick to the brands I know when I'm buying it.
Yeah, I did that with like the Mr. Porter thing, and it's like how I ended up with like a Rude gym short, and you're like, what the fuck? Like this goes with nothing.
Rude,
and then
I saw that
like
from miles away. I was like, this is something you will regret in a few years, to be having a baseball hat that's $600 that says Rude on it. You're like, it's just not gonna
put it next to the Von Dutch hat.
Exactly.
Okay, and last thing, a movie or a book that when someone mentions, you feel they understand you.
Home Alone.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Care to elaborate?
I think it's a perfect movie. I could watch it like at any time of the year. Anytime it's on, I sit down. It's always good. Macaulay Culkin's a star. Thank you.
Wait, I'm super into that because I think like I went through a John Hughes phase during the pandemic where I watched every single thing that he did, every single thing that he was adjacent to or involved with. Yeah, and I mean, obviously, there's
problems.
There's a couple things.
Yeah, of course,
sure, but
some of those things don't hold up in today's world. However, Home Alone does, and it's just I don't know what it is. I remember where I was when I watched that movie. I remember wanting people to break into my house as a 9-year-old so I could pull off the pranks. I love pranks. I love all that kind of stuff. And it had everything that I want in that moment of my life. And it just sort of, to this day, it's great. I've watched it with my kids. It's just, I don't know. It's kind of a funny thing to say, especially being like a Jewish kid. But Home Alone is like a great Christmas movie, and I love it.
It's phenomenal. I mean, Chris Columbus, I don't think gets enough credit because based on how crazy that there was a Netflix show, I think it was called The Movies That Made Us, and it's like a big documentary on making. One of the episodes is a big documentary on making Home Alone.
I love that they were never in the same place. The Wet Bandits and
yeah. I mean, it's the whole thing. It's just like, I don't know. I'd love to see that get remade, but at the same time, I think it would obviously
because they Home Alone 2 is amazing, and they've made other movies of Home Alone with the franchise, with the title, with the IP, and I've seen on Disney Plus, and it's just not. There's only 2 movies: Home Alone 2. That's it, and you don't need any more than that. You can't remake everything. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I know I'm sort of in the middle of like a big reboot thing. But it's different than that. Like, I feel like, you just kind of want to leave some of the best things alone.
Would you say that there's something that was remade that was better than the original? Has that ever happened?
I mean, I don't think it's like getting remade, but I do think like the reimagined version of these Marvel superheroes are incredible. I feel like that's necessarily like, it's not like reboots. It's sort of like, I don't even know what the right word is, but it's just sort of, they are kind of reboots, but they're like a new way of making them. And I'm into that.
I mean, I guess every Batman has been remade. From
Batman.
Tim Burton to Nolan.
Those only get better, I think. But I'm sure superhero people will come after me. I just don't know enough about superheroes, but I'll say something like that. Like, I love the Dark Knight. Like, I think it's great. I don't know if, I don't know if people are like, but Michael Keaton. I don't know. People have all these crazy opinions about shit. But,
This isn't a Kevin Smith podcast. You're good. No one's going to come after you.
Why are you not talking about clothes anymore? Go back to that lithium tea.
That's gnarly. Well, Dan, this was a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. It was good talking to you.
Good talking to you. Bye.
You've been listening to Blammo. Our show is produced by Blammo Media. We're edited by Amar Lull, and our theme music, as always, by the mysterious Breakmaster Cylinder. If you like what you heard, you know the drill. Share the pod with a friend. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Do whatever you do when you like something. You can follow us on Instagram for all the hot content. If you want to talk to us and give us your hot take, we'd love to hear from you. You can leave us a message, and we'll put it in a future episode. Email us at info@blammopod.com. And if you want to hang with us and join the Blam fam, visit patreon.com/Blammo, where we have tons of exclusive episodes, exclusive shows now with the Triple J Show and Blammo Presents Derek Guy, and our amazing Slack community. All right, everyone. That's it from me. See you soon.